The U.S. Supreme Court just issued a big ruling when it comes to voting. The conservative majority struck down an electoral map in Louisiana, saying it relied too heavily on race. Critics of the decision say it opens the door for Republican-led states to eliminate minority districts that tend to favor Democrats. To unpack today's ruling, I spoke with UW Assistant Law Professor Jeremiah Chen. The Supreme Court decision has major implications for voting districts all across the country. Can you explain what the court ruled and what this means going forward?
So Louisiana versus Calais is the latest in a series of opinions by the Supreme Court kind of curbing and paring back the Voting Rights Act that has been passed in multiple iterations since 1965. What the court's opinion today does is it attacks Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which would allow the redrawing of districts and consideration of racial gerrymandering based on kind of the disparate impact or the implication that racial discrimination played a role in the districting. What the court ruled today is almost the opposite, where you have to have express and explicit proof of intentional racial discrimination to prove a racial gerrymander, and the mere use of race is not sufficiently protected by the Voting Rights Act. And any mention of race is the type of racial discrimination that the state has to approve to a very high level of scrutiny that they are able to create majority-minority districts.
Okay, and I want to ask about geography, because if you look at that district in Louisiana, it goes from Shreveport across and then all the way down to Baton Rouge. It'd be like having a district here that went from Seattle to Spokane. Does the shape of the district play into this at all?
The shape of the district has played a role in courts' decisions of the past, particularly with gerrymandering and with racial gerrymandering and the one-person, one-vote maxim that the court tries to hold to. The court has even used the standard of serpentine districts that are essentially judging a district's viability by the oddness of its shape. The court is looking for some kind of consistency across the voting district and distribution of the votes. But what the court said today in Calais is that there is no normative standard for what a good distribution of votes is. There could be as much or as many other reasons other than race why we see the racially disparate impacts in these cases, which for the most part, based on our empirical data on voting rights, have shown to be racially motivated, even if they use things like political party affiliation as a pretext for racial discrimination.
So I guess the question we all want to know is, could this decision lead to redistricting here in Washington state?
I think it'll lead to redistricting enforced by another party, unlikely, but I think this definitely increases the arms race between the major political parties of our nation in redistricting every major locality that is coded to one color or another. So, you know, Florida approved its redistricting maps very soon after this decision is passed today. We see the kind of struggle going on between Texas and California in redistricting. Washington could get caught up in that, but this opinion, I don't think, targets any of our districts as they stand.
Okay. UW Assistant Law Professor Jeremiah Chen, thank you so much for explaining this to us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, as to timing and the impact, it's not clear yet if any states will try to redistrict before the November midterms. The House GOP campaign chairman says it's pretty late in the game to do so, but that will be up to governors and state legislators.